Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. And just want to touch on, some current events real quick. Lord willing to be edified unto the elect. First things first, right? You just had the Secretary of the Department of War, Pete Hegseth, just gave his, big speech to the 800 generals and admirals that was gathered, right, for this, what it seems, right, and obviously we know that there may be things that were not publicly spoken, all right, or publicly, announced, but what seems to be, just a big pep rally speech. And, he said a few things in there, but the overall sentiment is that he is pushing this mindset of preparation for war. Okay. He said it multiple times, within his speech, that in order to achieve peace, you have to prepare for war. So that in itself, showcases that they are in a mindset that there's a lack of peace, right? And also that we are in a time of war. Matter of fact, let's get that precept, because, as the scriptures tells us, that there is a season for everything, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. I'm going to read it in the NLT. It says, "For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under the heaven." Okay, because even the angel, right, Uriel, told the prophet Ezra that by number has the Lord numbered the times, and by measure has he measured the times, and he does not stir nor move, right, them until said measure is fulfilled. Meaning what? That everything is has an appointed period, right? Every event, right, every activity has a appointed period that the Lord preordained, from the foundation of the world, right, before the world began, which is why, right, Yahweh is able to declare the end from the beginning. And he gave his servants, the prophets, the insight, right, to be able, to see these things, right, as it says in the book of Amos, the third chapter, Amos chapter 3, verse 6, shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people be not afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord hath not done it? Okay, because everything is like I said, is preordained, it's orchestrated, right, and it's commissioned by Yahweh, by Shema Rashad. All right, the time of peace and the time of war is both ordained by the Lord, right? That's why it says in Isaiah the 45th chapter that the Lord, he created light and he created darkness, he created peace and he created evil. I Yahweh, right? Yahweh says that he has done all these things. Verse 7, surely the Lord Yahweh power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. See, in the NLT, indeed, the sovereign Lord never does anything until he reveals his plans to his servants, the prophets. Okay, and the Lord has revealed the plans, okay, of this time, this season, right, in the activity that he is going to have manifested in this time, right, which is what we as the servants, the prophets, have been prophesying about, right? Jeremiah 28:8, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. What was that first thing? Of war. See, because there is a time for war. Let's pull it up. Going down to verse 8 now. It says, a time to love, right, and a time to hate, a time of war, all right, or in NLT it says a time for war and a time for peace. So once again, there you can't have both in the same time, right? You can only have one or the other. And as Pete Hegseth is announcing, that they are in a time for war, which is why he is, commissioning and trying to galvanize, right, the military to be in that mindset, to be prepared for war. So let's read a little bit of this. I'm going to jump around, and Lord willing, like I said, it'd be edifying. It says, he took the opportunity to declare a reversal of the woke culture, which had for far too long reigned at the Pentagon under the Biden administration. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship, no more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and I will say again, we are done with this shit, the Pentagon chief emphasized. Okay, and one of the reasons, amongst, getting back into that, Edomite hegemony, mentality, right? That scientific racism that Esau pushes out in order to justify his wicked rulership, right? But another reason why they're trying to get rid of that is because they want to have the best type of military men, okay, in the military, or should I say they want the best type of men in the military, because they know that they're about to go to war. And when you go to war, you don't want, the Libiquita community fighting for you, right? You don't want, effeminate men fighting, right? You don't want, people that are not in shape, okay? You don't want people that are not in a mindset of willingness, to go all the way, right? Not getting into the military because you have a lot of people that got into the military simply because they wanted, the benefits of it, right? They wanted to pay off their student debt. They wanted to, get the GI Bill, all these other reasons other than, right, actually being a warrior. See? But that was easier to do when you were not faced with war, right? When you're not in a time of war. When you're in a time of peace, you can join the military because and try to get these benefits and goodies because you're not really worried about actually having to go to war, right? But now we're in a time of war. So this is the mindset that they're trying to push. Reading on, it says, from this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War, see, and that's something to be noted, that they changed the Department of Defense, the DOD, to the DOW, right? Because this is the time, this is the season for this activity. Okay, they are saying that they're in the season to be aggressive and offensive. They're not in the season to just try to protect, right, their nation. They're in the season to be on the offensive. And this is why you see Trump, which he just said today, that he will be targeting drug cartels in the land of Venezuela, which once again, this whole drug cartel is really just a ploy, a front to actually go to war with the nation of Venezuela, right? The government of Venezuela. They're not trying to go after, narco terrorists, okay? And as days go by, that is going to become more plainer, more clearer to see. But really, just the simple, statements that this guy is making alone, right, is making it very obvious to see what time we are in, right? So if we read on, it says, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: war fighting, preparing for war, and preparing to win, unrelenting, uncompromising in that pursuit. You see? So here is a clip of, something that he says. And like I said, if you have eyes to see, if you have ears to hear, it's very loud and clear, right? The trumpet is clearly blowing, right?
Truth. To ensure peace, we must prepare for war. From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: war fighting, preparing for war and preparing to win, unrelenting and uncompromised truth.
See, that's the only mission. The only mission is war fighting, preparing for war and preparing to win. Now, of course, that's the pride of Esau's heart, okay, thinking that they are going to win this, because once again, it's already been preordained, right? The end has already been declared, you see. But the scriptures even speaks about how even when Yahweh Shah returns, that they're going to be afraid. Matter of fact, let me pull that up, because it's interesting enough that, you know, he's making this you know, speech, trying to, like I said, galvanize the military, starting with the top brass, you know, to be ready and willing to go to war, right, and be unrelenting and uncompromising. And you know, it's like I said, it's interesting because when Yahweh Shah returns with the heavenly host, you're going to have a mentality, right, of the troops that is going to be afraid to fight, but they're still going to fight. Let's pull it up. 2 Ezra 13, verse 8. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. All right, so they're going to be gathered together. These are the various armies of the world, okay? While they're in the midst of their fighting, right, Yahweh Shai is going to enter into the earth's atmosphere with the armies of heaven, right? Let's pull that just to show it. And he also is going to fight, you see? So this is going to be not only a war of, you know, various nations. It's going to be a war of the worlds. Revelation, what is that, 19? Revelation chapter 19, verse 14. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, which are representative of, you know, the chariots, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword. With it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the almighty power. Okay, so yeah, the Yahweh Shai is coming with the armies of heaven, okay, and to do what? To destroy and fight these other nations' armies. So that is why when we read in 2 Ezra 13, it says that, read that again, and I beheld this, and after I beheld this, Salaki, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. So they're going to be afraid, but they're still going to fight. And this, you know, right here is a part of that, you know, gathering that, you know, mentality to go fight, right? This is why, you know, Pete Hegseth is in this mode, right, trying to, you know, push out this, you know, warrior ethos, as they call it, is because they want the military to fight, right? They want the men in the military to be prepared to fight. That's what it says, war fighting, preparing for war. Remember, I think it was one of Putin's top, you know, officials. He said back last year that Americans forgot what war is like, or forgot what war is. And it's because America has not been in an actual war against an actual nation, right? An actual, you know, opposing, you know, military might in, you know, how long, right? And they lost against the Vietnam, right? But that wasn't even, that was a lot of guerrilla warfare. Okay, you had the Desert Storm where they was fighting against, you know, some militia groups in the desert, right? And you had the War on Terror, but they haven't actually fought a world, you know, an actual superpower in over it since World War II. So this whole generation that you are living in right now, nobody was alive, or should I say nobody was adults, right? That were during the time of World War II. And if they are, then they're old as hell, right? I think even, the last World War II veteran might have died a couple years ago. He was like 100 and something, you see? And this is why scripture tells you that in the book of Jeremiah, that the, let me see if I can pull that up, that they are forborn to fight. Let me see, forborn. Yep, Jeremiah 51 verse 30 says, the mighty men, let's read it in NLT. It says, her mightiest warriors no longer fight. They stay in their barracks. Their courage gone. They have become like women. See? And you actually have seen that, where you had TGs that were in the military, and they were actually, trying to recruit individuals with a TG commercial, right? Or you could be anything you want in the military. You see? You got women that are in military uniforms twerking. Okay, a lot of officers that you see, right? If it's regular local police officers, or National Guards or troops, it's a lot of women in the military. Okay, and then the men that you see, they're like you said, out of shape, right? They're not, courageous. They're not warriors. And if we're at a point in the time of war, and this is the majority of, let's not even say a majority. Let's say 40% of the military is like that. Then you're through, man. But this is why you see him, trying to do this, trying to push out this mindset, is because they know that they don't have much time left, right? They don't have a lot of time to try to get in, their military whipped into shape. It says, so it says they have become like women. Where was it? Yeah, so that's basically it on that right there. So let's go back to the article. It says he at one point used the old slogan that goes well back into the Reagan administration and beyond, of representing a national posture of peace through strength by the military. Apart from issuing what has long been the articulate stance of the administration on battling woke trends in the military, one substantive moment came when Hegseth vowed no more nation building. They said never again to mission creep or nebulous end states. Hegseth said the same holds true today. Our civilian and military leadership is chock full of veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan who say never again to nation building and nebulous end states. All right, so I'm gonna skip down this. I don't have much time left, but I want to jump to a point where Trump, basically, said the quiet part out loud, because he also came there and he gave a speech, right? And when you read through this article, you see that a lot of the admirals and generals there, they wasn't really feeling, what Pete was saying and what Trump was saying. So they're at a odds right now, with what Pete wants and the Trump administration wants, and what the actual generals and admirals are doing, because they're the ones that are actually out on the battlefield, right? They're the ones that are actually out there. But a lot of people were saying that they weren't too happy that they got called from their posts just to hear a rally speech. And this is a picture of them. It's a bunch of old men, right? Bunch of old men. But here, this is what I wanted to get right here. It says another interesting moment was when he said Department of Defense should use dangerous cities as training grounds for the military and National Guard. Common enlisted ranks might not feel too thrilled about this one. I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we are going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor, Trump continued. So they're trying to say, basically, they want to use the military and the National Guard, which is what they're doing, right? You just had the governor from Louisiana request 1,000 National Guard troops from Trump to go into Louisiana all across the state. So that's about to happen, right? You already got it in DC, you got it in Memphis, you got it in Portland, right? He said he's about to go into Chicago. So all of these places where we always constantly say we're predominantly is inhabited by Jake, these are about to become war fronts, man. Because in this article, or in that speech that Trump said, he said that there is another war that that is happening. He said a war from within, a war against criminals and immigration and immigrants, which that's a code word for the Southern Kingdom, Judah, right, and the Northern Kingdom, Ephraim, and the tribes that are with them, all right, aka the so-called blacks and the so-called Latinos. You see, so like I said, I don't have too much time, but I just wanted to touch on this because if you can't see it by now, right, it's very obvious, it's very clear. But if you can't see it by now, then hey, you're just gonna have to just wait until the missiles come, because there's not really much, as the scripture says, in the end it shall speak. Let me pull that up. There's not really much that we can do to make it any more plainer, right? It's already active, it's already speaking. So we're now really just reporting on what the Lord is doing. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, for it shall surely come, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. All right, it says the vision is for the future time, it describes the end, it will be fulfilled. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently, for it will surely take place, it will not be delayed. You see, and we are living clearly in a time where it's not delaying. So Lord willing, I can come back with some more. But with that, Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect, giving all praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Shai, Bashem, Rakakwadash. Shalom.